The dynamics of many of the activities that provide the potential for a relationship of individuals who are trying to get health wise is beginning to take shape with a number of different individuals that have the ability to not only educate you but put you in a position of comfort when it comes to learning about different trends and different habits that are necessary to make your life healthy. We're here now with Joyce Rosenblum. And Joyce is a health expert who has been very successful in providing resources that will give individuals who challenge the opportunity of changing their lifestyles into something more healthy. We're very happy to have you here because our effort is to educate our community about how effective it is to get into lifestyles that will make their ability to live longer opportunities of reality, but also what they would need in order to be able to do it.
Right.
And a lot of times, obviously enough, it's not something that we have access to directly.
Right.
Now, your program is really based in the South Jersey area.
Correct.
And what I've learned, when we talk about cultures and people of different persuasions, individuals who are more affluent really have the ability to invest into the practice that you offer. But up in this community, we very rarely get any opportunity because the investments are not as abundant.
Right.
Explain to us exactly how can we really change that perception?
Well, it doesn't have to take a lot of money to be able to take a class and be able to go out into the community and purchase fruits and vegetables and grains and add them into your diet in a healthful way. It may just take a little bit of coaching as to how to prepare those foods to make them delicious and nutritious. And beans and grains and vegetables don't have to cost a fortune to be able to start to see a change in your diet. So I really believe that any community can get healthy. Just may need some classes. And we do offer some classes that aren't too expensive. They may not be our extended classes, but it may just be an evening class, 2.5, 3 hours of just getting your hands in there and learning how to prepare some of these foods. So.
When we think about the preparation and the time that it really takes to understand exactly what you're doing, let me share with you some of my unfortunate situations.
Sure.
Because recently there was this whole media exposure about vitamins not being good for you anymore. But what I've learned is that vitamins can be just as toxic as medication. And you could take more than you really need. Colon cleansers, for instance.
Sure.
If you really do too much of it, it can really bother your kidney. It can do things of that nature. Then I also learned that even in the ingredients, and let's say it's something as simple as a smoothie, if it's not prepared properly, it may not be effective. What kind of way does your program make sure that a person is at ease, especially when they want to make it part of their regular habit of eating routine?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get that a lot as far as supplements. Are they great to take? Aren't they great to take? And it's true. Sometimes you can take too much of a good thing and it's going to cause ill effects. Some people like to do a jumpstart cleanse, and that may be a good way to start to get the body, activated again, their metabolism going. But doing them long term can not be a good thing for the body. So what I like to suggest is really reading labels, really looking at the ingredients that are in these cleanses. If they're from natural foods, natural sources, plants, vegetables, then I'm okay with it. But if there's words in there that you can't read, you don't want to be putting it into your body. So if it says it's, from broccoli and it has, carrots in it and certain foods that your body's going to be able to digest, great, go for it. But a lot of them have a lot of preservatives in them and a lot of ingredients that will cause you to take off some pounds for the short term, but also perhaps have some side effects. So I'm not a huge fan of a lot of them unless they're really plant-based. So we typically will say have a variety of different foods. If you're eating a lot of different types of foods, you're going to get the nutrients that you need, and you really don't need to supplement with a lot of different individual vitamins. You get them from the plants that you eat.
Really?
Yes. Might need a green supplement here and there if you're not consuming a lot of greens. So you might want to put some greens in some water powder mixes that they have and have that so that you're getting the nutrients. But other than that, maybe some omega-3s that we're maybe not getting from the foods that we're eating, because a lot of foods have unhealthy oils in them. And our body, our brain really needs good quality omega-3s, and we can get them from chia seeds and from hemp seeds and flax seeds. So you might want to add those as a supplement. I try to really stay away from a lot of supplements that have a lot of different ingredients in them other than plant-based.
What is the trend now that really finds it necessary to move away from meat products?
Well, there's just so much information out there about the way in which meat is prepared today, processed. There's so many antibiotics and hormones given to the animals, and we ingest all of those. And we don't know the side effects that we're going to have from ingesting them. So it's best to try to avoid getting any type of animal protein that perhaps is not wild or farm raised is something you want to stay away from. So you want to get something maybe that's organic, that doesn't have as many of the antibiotics or hormones. But innate in an animal, they have hormones that can mess with ours and cause
now,
issue.
the thinking about that in relationship to, again, when it comes down to plant products, that there are ideas that in order for you to get the best product, it must be organic. But we don't have a lot of opportunities to get organic products abundantly.
Right.
What makes it conditionally better, though, than meat?
Well, there's a lot of fat in meat. There's a lot of saturated fat. Okay, and so when we ingest that when it's cooked, it can become carcinogenic. It turns into what's known as heterocyclic amines, and those heterocyclic amines are carcinogenic when meat is cooked. So there's a lot more fat in conventional meat than there is in organic meat, but you're still going to have that effect. So organic is better because of the practices that they use to raise the animals. You're not ingesting factory farmed animals that are scared for their life as much. They say that, they're a little calmer and it's easier to take into the body. I just feel that it's best not to consume too much animal protein, even if it is organic.
So you're not totally against proteins.
Right. If somebody, wants to have that in their diet, try to choose the best quality of it and have the smallest amount. If you can have like 3 to 4 ounces on your plate of animal protein, and if you're in an area where you can't get as good a quality as you perhaps might want, then just have a smaller amount of it and have more things on your plate that are going to have fiber in them, because there's no fiber in animal protein. And we really need fiber to really detoxify our body and get a lot of the things out. So if you're going to have a little bit of that meat, just have extra vegetables, have extra grains that have fiber in them, so that you'll be able to eliminate those toxins from the body.
Your program is something that is, I would say, unique in its concept. Share with us exactly what it is.
So it is a vegan cooking program, meaning that we don't use any dairy, we don't use any animal protein. Anything that has a face, we're not using in our cooking. So we really like to stick to grains and beans and greens, legumes, nuts, and seeds. We find that you get a lot of your calcium and your protein from a plant-based diet, unlike, what we're seeing today as far as factory farmed meats and dairy products. We're not able to really absorb as much today because of what they're doing to the dairy and to the animal protein. So we're really able to absorb and get what we need from a plant-based diet. So we try to teach people how to prepare delicious and nutritious plant-based cuisine. And if you do have somebody who wants to add animal protein in, they can, for whatever their family likes. But we try to add more beans in and more tofu and seitan and tempeh as our proteins. And you get 40% protein from broccoli. So just from your greens.
That seems to be a delightful method in terms of being able to learn more about how to eat healthy. Looking at it from the perspective of it being part of a curriculum now,
Yes.
is it something that you also offer to a number of chefs and different people who are trying to come up with concepts that would make it a marketable product?
Yes, we do. We have a lot of traditionally trained chefs that come to the program because they really want to add more plant-based cuisine to their menus, whether it's for personal clients or whether it's for the public in a restaurant. We have a lot of people that are personal chefs that really just want to add new things to their repertoire as far as when it comes to plant-based. So they'll attend the programs to try to get that information so that they can get it out there into the public.
So share with us your history, your background,
Okay.
in terms of your lifestyle. And why did you really move towards this area of concern?
Yes, and this really was a huge concern for me. I had been a special education teacher for many, many years. I worked in a very low socioeconomic area, and I was watching what the children would eat for lunch, and then they'd come back to class after lunch, and I'd wonder why they couldn't focus, why they were all over the place, and it was really hard to get them under control. And I kind of started to see that there might be a relationship to what they were eating and how they were able to function in the classroom. Or sometimes they would come in the morning and they'd be really tired and lethargic, and I would ask what they had for breakfast. It might have been just a really sugary cereal with some milk, and again, they weren't able to really sustain paying attention and getting the most out of their education. So I started to see some kind of a link to perhaps there's something about what we put into our body and how we're able to function. It really wasn't until my son, my younger son, was diagnosed with ADHD and bipolar disorder and asthma that I really got involved with thinking about the importance of what we were putting into our body. And we were all eating the standard American diet. We were having Pop-Tarts for breakfast, and, we were having Stroman's bread, sandwiches for lunch, peanut butter and jelly, and the traditional ones, the Jif and the Skippy kind of a things, and Welch's grape jelly, and for dinner, perhaps spaghetti and meatballs, and just traditional things that, I grew up on and thought, you take in what your body needs, and you pee and poop out what you don't need, and that's it. And then a friend of mine came over and she said to me, you might want to look at the foods that you're eating. A lot of those have additives and preservatives in them, and they're artificially colored and artificially flavored, and that might be having an effect on your son's health. And it might have an effect on, your husband's and your health, and, just maybe look into that. And I said, that's a great thing to start looking at. So I found the Feingold diet. It was really big back about 17 years ago.
And was this online?
And it was online.
Okay.
And actually, a lot of people had said, go to the library and get the Feingold book out. So I did, and I started reading it, and I really found that they had all these studies about artificial colors and flavors and preservatives having an effect on the body. So I started on my own trying to pull them out, but I really didn't have the education and the knowledge and the know-how to really switch out how I was going to cook. So this same friend said, there's a place called Fresh Fields that opened up. At the time it was called Fresh Fields, now it's known as Whole Foods.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a history lesson. We get a lot of support from them as well.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so it was Fresh Fields at the time, and she said, why don't you come with me? We'll go and we'll take a walk around. And we started walking around, and she's pointing out kale and collard greens and a lot of these greens that I had never used, dandelion greens and escarole. She started pointing out grains to me, quinoa and millet and buckwheat, and I had never used any of these. So I just kind of walked around listening to what she was saying. She was talking about beans and adding them in, and adding tofu and seitan and tempeh and all of these different foods. So I walked around, but I really didn't purchase anything because I thought, well, when I get them home, I don't know what to do with them. So as we walked out of the store, there was a bulletin board, and there was a sign on there. It said, personal chef will come to your home and teach you how to prepare healthy, nutritious, plant-based foods. So I took it off the bulletin board and got home and called the number right away, explained my situation, that my son was diagnosed with these different issues, that I had had some health concerns. My hormones were out of whack. My husband had some concerns as far as allergy medications that he was taking. Could food make a difference? And he said, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Really?
So I said, well, can you get here like today or tomorrow?
Right.
And he said, no, probably not until the end of the week. But had I heard of the chef Christina Perello, she had been on public television.
Okay.
And she had a TV show on that talked about how to prepare plant-based foods and to show you how to prepare them. So he said, well, why don't you watch that until I can get there? So I said, great. So I was teaching during the day, so she was on during the day, so I taped the show. When I got home, I sat down to watch it, and literally my mouth just fell to the floor. She was talking about all of these healthy foods and what they did for your body. And I never really thought about what all of these foods did for your body. How your, blood was made up from them, your cells was made up from them, so your thoughts were changed by what you put into your body. And I thought, well, I can't hurt by trying this.
True.
So by that end of the week, this chef Barry Cohen had come to the house and looked through my pantries, looked through my refrigerator. I literally had about 6 things left in my refrigerator that didn't have high fructose corn syrup in them, that didn't have artificial colors in them, that didn't have partially hydrogenated fats in them.
Well, and now it's interesting because that's part of our lifestyle.
Exactly.
A lot of times it's basically what we like, and when we go towards purchasing products, we don't really try to find out what is better. And then in most cases, what is better costs more.
Right.
But go on, how did you change your lifestyle?
So, that was a concern. Oh my gosh, I have nothing left in this house and it's going to cost a fortune to change everything over. And so he assured me that it may cost a little bit of money in the beginning, but once I started to learn how to prepare grains and greens and beans and use nuts and seeds and different things, that I would really feel quite satisfied in my food choices, and that I wouldn't have to eat a whole lot of foods that wasn't actually going to end up costing me a lot more, and that actually, meats and dairy and things like those foods, cost a lot. So I thought, well, it's worth a shot to try it. So he started coming to my house, and we started cooking together, and I started weeding out some of the things that weren't as healthy and switching to even just ketchup, a ketchup that didn't have high fructose corn syrup in it. Was just a little change and just a little bit more money, or a bread that didn't have partially hydrogenated oil and the high fructose corn syrup.
I want to emphasize that point. Just a little bit more money. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times it's not a lot more money.
Right.
We're trying to difference
Exactly.
between maybe even 50
50
or
cents.
75 cents.
Exactly.
When we can be able to get something that really helps our lifestyle.
That's right.
That's interesting. I ran across a book that was talking about how blood types also have an effect on it. Do you discuss any of that in your program?
We do, Dr. D'Adamo, who's all about the blood types. We really believe that, for one person, food might be great. For another person, it could be a poison to their system. Everybody is different. We have bio-individuality. So I really like to look at, well, for some people, if it says for a certain blood type that it's good to add in certain foods, try it. See how you feel. It's really all about how you feel in your body. And as a health coach, I really look to see how you feel, your mind, what's going on, your thoughts, your spiritual practice, and the food that you're putting into your body. There's something about primary food and secondary food. As a health coach, I've learned that the primary food areas of our life, our relationships, our spiritual practice, our physical exercise, are just as important as the secondary food, the foods that we actually ingest in our body. So I started looking into all of those things, and it's really important. So, what may be great for one may not be great for another. So blood type can be something to look at. I think it's good to look at everything that's out there, and then you make your choices.
Joyce Rosenblum.
Boom.
We're here again, if you're just tuning in, with Joyce Rosenblum, who happens to be a health coach, and the specifics in relationship to the work that you have begun to really bring into some really favor of existence, now brings about an even difficult challenge for individuals to decide to make those choices. Do you have like a chart of trends in relationship to talking about the secondary and the primary areas that an individual should be concentrating on?
I was educated at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City. And the concept of primary food and secondary food really is something that's very stressed there. It's a concept that there are charts that you can look at as far as the circle of life, to be able to look at those different primary areas of your life and see on a scale of 0 to 10 where you are in different areas. So, your relationships, your spiritual practice, your finances, your confidence, all of those areas. And you really are the one who's able to say best, where you're at in terms of really feeling great about a certain area or really feeling like you need work in those areas. And as a health coach, I'm looking at those different areas that are really the ones that fall closest to the center where you need the most help. And we'll really try to work on those areas. And you'll be surprised, like if your relationships are really not healthy and you're not feeling really great about them, chances are you're going to go for comfort foods that are really not as healthy for you. So if we can get you out there and being around friends or family that are going to make your relationships better, or finding a significant other, then chances are your food choices are going to be healthier choices. So we kind of look at both of them together. And as far as the food choices, we do have a chart that we look at as far as the amounts of grains you should be adding in, the amounts of vegetables and proteins and things like that, and nuts and seeds and oils, so that you do have a guideline that we can kind of walk you through, saying that, it's important to have this amount each day.
Now, we did talk about your registration process and the costs and
Yes.
things like that, and the affordability of it.
Yes.
One of the things that I'm interested in finding out in terms of your settings, is it one-on-one? Is it a classroom? How does an individual approach being comfortable about not only learning, but being able to get the best bang for their buck?
Exactly. Well, for some people, they do learn best one-on-one. And for those people, we do have our personal chefs that will go to their home and will actually spend a few hours with the person, not to overwhelm them at first, but maybe just to learn the basics, the knife skills, and maybe how to prepare grains and vegetables. And that's a great way to get started for somebody who really needs that one-on-one attention. And it's fairly inexpensive in the long run, because after a couple of classes, you can really start to implement on your own.
Oh.
So it's, as need basis, which is really nice. For other people, they love working in groups with others. So we like to keep it hands-on. We keep our class sizes small. Typically, the students are broken into groups of 4.
Oh, really?
And there's no more than 16 in a class. And we really want that because we're all about educating people so that they're able to go home and prepare these foods for themselves and for their families. So we try to keep it small. And we try to keep it affordable too, and when you break it down and you look at it, there's really no cost for how to take care of your health. You can pay it to a doctor, or you can just really try to take care of your health on your own. And I think one of the ways to do that is educating yourself on what you're putting in your body. We really delve into the nutritional side as well. Why these foods are good for your body, what they do for your body, as well as how to prepare them.
It is an opportunity, if you really are interested in becoming now part of the new diet efforts that exist, and looking at it from that perspective. But a guy like me, okay, I like things that taste good,
Absolutely.
And, seasoning is so important.
Yes.
I can't get into this tofu stuff.
Right.
What is the story in relationship to that? It seems like that's the only way that I'm going to make it work.
Yeah. Well, tofu is one of those foods that really is like a blank slate. It really doesn't have any taste until you add something to it. And there's different types of tofu. There's silken tofus that are nice and creamy, and you can use them to make puddings. And that's a wonderful way to use them if you really aren't a fan of tofu, but you want to get the nutrients and the benefits of all of the protein in it. You add some chocolate to it. You add some sweetener and some vanilla.
You can go that far.
You whip it up together,
Wow.
and you've got chocolate pudding that no one would know was made with tofu.
Wow.
Add a little whipped cream to that and some
Right.
strawberries on top, or a raspberry, and you've got a great dessert. There's also extra firm tofu, and that's got more of a consistency that's meatier. a texture that, if you're trying to have less animal protein and you want to add that in, an extra firm tofu is great. And you can cut that up and slice that up. You can put barbecue sauce on it, let it marinate and absorb those flavors. You can bake it in the oven or you can put it on the grill. You can add that with some vegetables in a stir fry, and it makes a wonderful dish. So if you like
And
barbecue
especially
sauce.
in terms of salads and things of that
Yeah.
nature. Because then on the other end of it, again, you're looking for the taste appeal.
Exactly. You really want food to be tasty. I would never advocate to anyone to feel like they are not able to enjoy what they're eating. You really want to be able to. You don't want to feel deprived of anything. So if we're not making delicious food,
Right.
we're not enjoying it, it's not going to be something that we're going to sustain for lifestyle changes. And we want this to be a lifestyle change. This is not a diet. We don't look at it as a diet. We really look at making just healthy choices every day. And that's just a way of life. And by healthy, it just means that it's, more plant-based in our, eyes, and adding whatever flavor profiles you like. If you like more Asian, or you like more Indian, or you like, whatever it is, Jamaican flavors, you just add those particular spices and herbs to your dish.
When
And
you
we
look
teach how
at
to
it
prepare
from
those.
that, and I wanted to get into that. Do you offer a recipe book or some standard that an individual can use as a blueprint once they've gone through your training?
Yes, the founder and my co-owner of the school, Christine Waltemeyer, has the first cookbook out, Natural Vegan Kitchen.
Oh, really?
That can be ordered on Amazon or on our website,
Okay.
naturalkitchenschool.com. So it is a wonderful resource for people to be able to start to prepare some of these dishes that might have, not known otherwise how to.
Now, looking at you, have you ever had a weight problem at all?
I really have not ever really had a weight problem. About 15, 20 pounds heavier before I changed to a plant-based diet.
To a person who isn't
Yes.
overweight, can still find an interest in using this as a method of living healthier.
Absolutely. It's really not about our weight. It's about feeling good in our body. And somebody who's really thin may not really be in great health. They may have health issues. They're consuming the wrong types of foods. So it's really about you feeling great in your body.
So that's so important for people to understand. It's not about you wanting to lose weight, or
It's a good side
that
effect, though, from
losing
being...
weight is the only reason why you want to change your diet. But in many cases, individuals have found a comfort zone in learning how to live a healthier life and what types of foods that they can be able to prepare for that purpose. Joyce Rosenblum's program has been effective and widely acclaimed in many areas, such as the health industry. I think you did a workshop with Robert Wood Johnson and some of
Yes.
the other institutions. Why don't you share with us a little bit about that?
Well, we like to do any of their open houses that they have just to expose people to some options that they may not have already known about. Something as simple as apple juice with dandelion greens in it, whipped up in their blender to start the morning, so that they're getting some of these nutrients from the greens and not just having a sugary breakfast start.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, because we were so used to having the donuts, the coffee. What about coffee? Is that still the trend of good use for breakfast food?
Well, it is and it isn't. So, if you're getting good quality coffee beans and you're getting some of the nutrients from the coffee, that's great. Coffee in itself tends to be dehydrating. So we've been sleeping for all of these hours. We wake up to something that we're ingesting, and then it dehydrates us. So if you're having coffee first thing in the morning, you really want to have a glass of water for every cup of coffee that you're having. A lot of people use it to stimulate their body to get going and then for elimination. And over time, it's not the best way to help with elimination. So I recommend have a good breakfast first, and then after you've had your breakfast, have that cup of coffee.
Well, when you say have a good breakfast, let me just give you an example. I'm 56. I have senior moments.
Yes.
And I would rush to get me a cup of coffee just so that I don't embarrass myself. What would you suggest other than that in relationship to getting away from the idea that I'm thinking that it's a senior moment?
Right. Well, again, everything we put into our body is either going to help us or it's going to kind of, hold us back. So Coffee, may give you that jolt of that energy going, but it may not get the brain firing
Okay.
as well as perhaps, a green smoothie. So, I may start the morning with a green smoothie that's going to give me more of that brain power that I need from the phytonutrients from all of the plants.
So you're telling me, what is the ingredients of
So,
this
and again, you can
stuff?
Yeah, you can change it up, but this one happens to have cucumber in it. This one has celery in it. It has some carrot in it. It has a little bit of parsley. And then I put a little bit of fruit for sweetness, a little bit of apple juice, some pineapple. Pineapple's got bromelain in it, so it really helps with digestion. So I added some of that. I also added some chia seeds because chia seeds have a lot of omega-3s in them. I added some maca powder for some energy so that you won't have those senior moments because it's from a root. Anything that roots us down and grounds us helps us to focus our energy and helps us with our brain power. So we have some maca root in here, and we have a little bit of hemp protein. So it's a great way to start your day.
And this is something that you can prepare.
Right in the
You don't
blender.
have to take it to work and then blend it and
Exactly.
make it. You have it with you, and it can be very effective in that regard.
Exactly.
And you can store even more of it without having to have to do it every day.
That's right. Yep, you can store something like this and have, maybe 4 ounces for 3 days and have it. Ideally, it's best to have it, right away, but certainly, today's world, everything is relative. If you're going to have it or versus not having it, better to make it ahead.
What is the name of your program again?
We have the Natural Kitchen Cooking School. We have several different programs. We have a 4-month in-depth vegan cooking program where we're really teaching people everything that they need to know to be able to have a delicious, nutritious, plant-based diet. We also have vegan boot camps that we do. And those are 1-weekend intensives like raw foods, ethnic foods, detoxing, things like that. And then we have evening classes where it may just be on how to have more energy and adding certain foods to your lifestyle. So we have a variety of different types of programs.
Well, in case you were wondering why Joyce is up here, we're talking about looking at an opportunity where we can create an effort where we can not only support her program, but she can support We Care partners in our effort to come up with ways in which we can raise awareness about healthy and safe communities.
Absolutely.
And we're certainly happy about the idea of partnering with her in her approach to get more involved, especially educating people in the urban communities about how important healthy lifestyles can be. So we're going to be seeing more of you.
That'd be great.
And we
I look
really
forward to it.
appreciate you. And we really appreciate you for tuning in. Well, thank you very much, Joyce.
Thank you.
We'll be looking forward to doing more of these opportunities with sharing about healthy habits with our community. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure.